I'm going to talk to you about some of the things from my perspective, from my own, you know, feelings, emotions, and the things that I believe that are going on, and my own solutions, and some solutions that you may agree with and may not agree with. This podcast is based on entertainment purposes. The views discussed and talked about on this show are from a theoretical, knowledgeable, and from an experience standpoint. Viewer discretion is advised. So once again, this is MLRose with the Rose Room discussion. All rights reserved by trademark Intelligent Sounds. And with that said, I'm going to break it down. That slap in the background you hear is called hip hop. I produced that a while back on one of my instrumental albums. The topics today are deception of life, confusion, and reality. Um, right now, on this point in time, I was just watching a bunch of different things on YouTube. A lot of it had to do with a lot of things that are going on, deception of life, deception of people's mind state, deception of things that are happening, deception of people's perspective of certain things. For instance, right now I was just watching in Africa, they're having a situation with a drug called Kush. Now, Kush here in America is a cannabis. It's a heavy dose cannabis. It's like a highest of grade, one of the highest grades, not the highest, but it's one of the highest grades of marijuana here that we have. Medical marijuana, or you could say marijuana itself, or either cannabis. Um, but out there, they mix it with other types of formats. They mix it with bone dust and other type of, I think, like fentanyl types of chemicals to make it much more potent. And what they're starting to have is the same thing that's going on here, like it's going on in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and other places where you see people in the zombie type mode where they're stuck. They're like nodding off. They're not really in tune. The deception of making this type of format, and they made it like in a marijuana type of state. So I'm pretty sure they have the cool baggies. They probably made it to the design of their artwork, or so that way it'll attract the youth there because a lot of the young youth are doing it. I also seen that in other countries, it's the same effect. People are running and doing and busting moves to live a certain lifestyle, which is a deception. Deception is a really big thing. One of the things in the Bible, it says the devil comes to kill, steal, and he comes to manipulate. He comes to do deception. He deceives people. He comes in the form of a snake, right? He slithers on his belly. He moves around. He creeps at night, creeps in the daytime. He creeps around. He watches, gets in tune with you. He figures out what's going on with you. He tries to deceive you. So I believe, like, as anything that's going on now, people are being targeted in a certain way. And one of the ways that people are being targeted is deception. Deception is one of the biggest key, uh, I would say, attributes in this type of this society we live in right now. People feel like they have to have the best car, have the best look. They have to have the best female. Um, they have to have all these type of stereotypical things to make them stand out. And then when they do get it, sometimes up here is not really working. The mind is not there. The income sometimes is not there when it comes to the money. But the fake it till you make it is like the theme here in America. A lot of things is based on deception. I met people who told me they had degrees, found out, when researching and looking online and looking up even the college that they went to, they never gave out that degree. They don't even have a degree. But to put that online on Facebook or to Instagram or any type of thing of that nature, it gives people a perception of, deceiving them that you are educated in something that you may not ever had any type of training in. But to deceive people, to fake it till you make it, once again, is the theme. So that's what we're living in, a lot of deception. Deception is being pulled over our eyes right now like a wool. A lot of people are being deceived and thinking that the way of a lifestyle of being a part of this street life is a good way. We're seeing a lot of people, innocent people, getting taken away from us. We're seeing people getting put into incarceration. We're seeing people lying on people. We're seeing people even sacrificing their own children in order to get a GoFundMe. It's really a lot of deception out there amongst us right now in this society and in this world, as we can see right now. That's why I try to like pretty much push the issue of being who you are. You don't see me with filters. I come with my scars. You can see. I come with my real reality of who I am. Um, I don't drive a fancy car. I don't try to live above my means. I live in an apartment, so an apartment that I live in is not a high income apartment. So, but certain people will want you to see them in a different position and perspective because they want you to see them in a way that they're trying to reflect out to others that they have the financial backing when really most people are just living day to day. And in this society right now, we know with the economy, it's not really good. So, it's a lot of deception going on. People are still in that mindset that they have to show off to people. Um, that's why I try to be honest and straightforward with my life. I don't try to do anything. When you usually see me, you see me on Facebook or something like that, or YouTube or other platforms. I'm showing you my welding. I'm showing you my past firefighting. I'm showing you my artwork that I make digitally online, or either the ones I get from a app that I pay money to create artwork, digital artwork, because that's very popular now. I'm showing you also my original music stuff that I mixed and sampled. I'm just showing you much more of a way that who I am in a much more positive, and some people would say a layman's way because it's not really the spectacular way. Like I'm not like on the streets, on the block, on the turf, on the set. I'm not out there with the blick. I'm not out there with the bulletproof vest. I'm not posted up, flashing money, counting money. I'm not trying to get you into a false narrative of who I am. I just want to come honest and real because I don't want to deceive anybody. Because I believe, like, in a society today, we don't have a lot of people that are truly standing up anymore and just being who they are. Everything is a deceiving of the mindset. We have children being deceived on thinking that they have to be different um, personalities or sexualities or have to be different races or don't like their skin color. Some kids are bleaching their skin. We see with a recent young man, people are being deceived to believe that they're not worth any value. With the young man recently, I guess he was bullied so much by his teacher and his classmates that he committed suicide. So it's letting you see that these things are really out there. Like I said, the devil is sent to deceive, to steal, to manipulate and kill. That's what he does. You know what I mean? And some people carry these attributes with them. They carry this spiritually, mentally, and some of them will do it physically to people like that, like a child. I feel like it's a coward act to pick on anybody. You can make fun of jokes because everybody jokes and has a funny side of themselves, and we all snicker and make laughter at certain things that we find funny. But I don't asphyxiate on a person and bother them or try to stop them from being who they are or to live their own life. I don't have any type of mindset like that. But I do call people out for what they are if they're not being truly who they claim they are and who they're proud to be. Um, that's the part of deception out here. You have a lot of people that are claiming to be certain things because it's very popular. Like I said, back in the past, I grew up in the inner city. When I grew up in the inner city, being from the inner city itself was considered to be like something bad. People looked down on us. They didn't like us at all. We were raggedy and scaggly and we would do anything and all these things that they would say about us. Now, as you can see, when we go to these other cities' outskirts, they're mimicking stuff that we're doing from the past and bringing it back and trying to affiliate themselves with the streets. And they come from good, beautiful areas with no problems, but they're trying to do criminal acts to act as if they are somebody that they aren't. They aren't, with deception, deception in their own life, and they're only deceiving themselves down a road of destruction. You know what I mean? So that's why I wanted to focus on deception. And deception comes in many different formats. You got people that deceive you with their personality, manipulation. For once, you have young girls now being deceived by men who are online, who are particularly putting their false narrative of them being a baller or shot caller or a multi-millionaire or being a well-known artist, and they're renting vehicles, and these vehicles are being leased by other women that they have manipulated, and then they're fleeing one town to another town, and a girl sees them in a BMW and think that this person owns it. The person doesn't even own it. It's about to get towed, and the repo is looking for it in another state, and they're playing games, and you have a lot of deception, and a lot of these young ladies are being sucked into what we call human trafficking, things of this nature, prostitution, um, child pornography, pedophilia of young girls and young kids. Um, these are things that are happening right now. You have young boys being deceived online. I think I read an article, and it was not only an article. I think it was a story about a young man. He was online. He thought he had met a female. A grown man deceived him. A grown man that was, to me, a pedophile. To them in public, I don't know what the case of the matter may be. They gave this person the benefit of the doubt because the young man ended up committing suicide once again. Who would go figure? Who would think? Because the other grown adult man had him compromise himself by taking off his clothes. And while he was taking off his clothes, the grown man was taking pictures of him through his webcam and through the chat. But on the other side, he had an advanced AI, which made him look like a woman. So it rectified his face to have the woman features, everything else. So it's using them fake, them fake graphics, digital graphics, to pretty much mask his face in an effeminate look. So the young boy thought he was talking to a female. So he also put into his program to where the female would show her breast a little bit, and young boy was showing his private parts. Then later on, the man then showed his true face and told the little boy, "Hey, I'll put these pictures out if you don't give me this, or if you don't, do this for me." Later on, the kid murdered himself. Then the parents went over his computer, and when they do all the search, and because you can't never really get rid of nothing on your computers like you think you can. Um, and the government has different agencies that can go through your computer from all the way from the start when you first bought it to everything you looked at on every site and what you put up there. That's why I've never done anything like out of pocket. When I was younger, looking at pornography, good thing I praise to the Most High. I give a faith to the King of Heaven and Earth, the Most High, the Messiah, the King of all kings, the Creator of all existence. I magnify His name, I exalt His name, and He has helped me to keep myself in a better, you know, straight and narrow path. And I give all praises to Him. All the glory be to the King of heaven and earth, to the Messiah. All praises to the Holy Ghost. You feel me? That's my belief in religion. You don't have to believe in it. Like I said before many times on my podcast, you can be a Muslim, you can be uh, a Catholic, you can be a Christian, you can be a Baptist, you can be a Buddhist, you can be whatever you want to be. Whatever you do in your life, as long as you're not harming anybody, hurting anybody, forcing anybody, or causing anybody any pain or drama, or trying to make them do what you do. That's nothing by force. Everything is by your own freedom. But yes, these things are real when it comes to people trying to control other people. You know what I mean? Well, like I said, we have people now that are putting spy cameras in people's homes with deception. I read about a couple who was making intimate sexual love in their house all this time that they were in their home. They didn't know that another person that was their neighbor, that didn't have a female, was videotaping them on live and putting it on a a website without their consent, making money off of them having sex only when they had sex. You know what I mean? So you have a lot of people with a lot of demented mindsets. Me myself, I've never ever allowed or ever consented to anybody watching me naked in my home or giving anybody access to me and my privacy. If I ever found out, I'll sue them or either beat the shit out of them. Forgive me, use excuse my French, or either it would be a problem. But like I said, in this day and age, you never know with certain people because people are sick and demented mentally and they don't know how to deal with their own problems. And in the society we live in right now, there's a lot of people that are in a deception type of mode of lifestyle. You know what I mean? They're deceiving kids, everything else. For instance, for one, I seen a young person that I personally knew, had a very good, prominent future. Didn't need to get involved with any of the street type of activity, but for some reason wanted to. Was then manipulated and deceived with deception. Was given drugs by people that were older than him, that manipulated him, had him delivering and selling drugs. Later on, when a person got into all these type of disputes and problems and situations, everybody turned on a person. They made it like he was a killer, a murderer, disgusting person. Like he was just everything under the bridge. They pretty much washed a young man, um, destroyed his dreams. And with that, with me seeing that, I said, wow, that's really deep. You know, I've seen how people really would turn on you in a heartbeat and don't have any respect for you. And whenever they find a weakness in you, they will exploit that with deception and they will benefit it for their lifestyle to gain off of that. Um, like I said, um, this has gone on a lot in life. I've just been able to see it for what it is now. And as you get older and mature, you start to see how people are really liars and manipulators. And some of them don't even have any faith in anything. And they look to take advantage of multiple avenues if they can, any avenue if they can, truly. When it comes to your financial gains, it comes to um, your endeavors, it comes to you having knowledge, anything. For instance, I had a situation. I'm just gonna break down one of my situations because I have a lot of many situations. I've been deceived before too by multiple people, people that was close to me. I thought that was really genuinely love there, but I can see, based upon the fact that they wanted to get some type of fame from other people or get some type of recognition from them or to be seen in a certain light, they were willing to do anything. That's why I said you have people that's willing to sacrifice their own children, their own mothers, their own fathers, their own family members based upon a status amongst people. Um, right now, people are really starting to see they're getting their just due based upon their karma of what they have done in society. I got my karma too, also, but I don't go around trying to destroy people. Let's say that, for instance. I'm not a particular person that tries to figure out how to manipulate and destroy other people and to gain anything off of it because I'm not a demon or a devil. You know what I mean? I have morals in my life as a man. I feel like I stand up on my own principle and pretty much do what I'm supposed to do as an adult. Um, I don't try to um, gain any financial status off of anybody else's pain and misery. You see what I mean? I work for mine. Like you can see right here, this is my brand, Mantis with the Mac. This is my own digital design, HBD, HD Bobby V. You already see me play that. That's on my MLRose Game Recognized Gamers video game podcast show. So I promote my own stuff, and Intelligent Sounds is my trademark. Had that since 2019, and I just been pushing the issue with my own stuff. I don't really try to live off of anybody else's fame, anybody else's name, anybody else's existence. I do my own thing, and I try to be myself. So deception right now is one of the biggest things out there that's causing people to be deceived. Sexuality is another deception. With kids being manipulated at young ages, being told that they have to pick a certain sex to identify themselves when they're not put maturely and competent and ready to understand the difference between and what they have and what's the situation with it as they mature and how procreation is done between two opposite sexes is kind of really anarchy to me. It's is is captivating and cultivating of another manipulative deception. Because when you have kids that are like 5 to 6 years old, 7 years old, and you're explaining to them about sexual organs and how they can change their organs and how they can be something else that they don't understand. These kids barely understand how to wipe themselves properly. They barely understand how to follow rules properly. They barely understand how to comprehend information properly. They barely understand when they're being manipulated by an adult. So let alone they'll lie to you and try to manipulate you, and you'll catch them in a lie right then and there. So for a person to have a mature mindset of being on this earth for 30 or 40 years, that has a long gated game process, meaning they can see um, from start to finish and know the different angles, why a child can't see from start to finish because they're not developed properly and don't know the yards. You know what I mean? Like any adult would know there's certain yardage on a football field. Now, when you ask a child, some of them may know, but they don't know how it looks. They don't know how it's done. They don't know what's the gain of it, what's the significant meaning. They don't know all the concepts behind the yardage. They don't know when it was invented, who made this up, was the game created, who created the game, what was the whole point of the game, the perspective of the game. You see what I mean? Like an adult that studies and gets information has more of a wider range of understanding than a child. So to manipulate a child and to bring him into I would say, a arena of adult knowledge is very dangerous. And some kids are very smart, but they're not smart like you think they are. You see what I mean? They're smart in a certain way of understanding, but they're not smart in a way of understanding a manipulative society and the way people get down with the street or deception mindset. And to deceive the masses is what you see is done every day in this country. We're told that certain people, certain nationalities don't get certain things because of their race and how they look and the fact that they pose a threat to others, which we know is not true. What after all these years of understanding, we can understand now that from our perspective of knowledge and learning and going back to our history of our cultures and ancestors, we know that we were here first, that we were civilized people. But with the introduction of drugs, um, psychological warfare, chemical warfare, mental warfare, and pretty much economic warfare, we were cut off and didn't get the value that we were supposed to get. That's why we don't have the true growth. But in a deceptive, um, you know, how I say this, in a deceptive type of society we live in right now, people label people. And what they do is they tell you, oh, that person is that race. So be careful of them. Don't go too close by all of them. They'll steal from you, they'll rob from you, they'll do things to you, and they'll come, you know, but they don't tell you about the history of what they've done to those people and what has happened to some of these people and how they have targeted these people. So we know that deception is one of the biggest type of bamboozlements that has gone on for so long in this society. Um, Deception is done in a religious form. We have religions that deceive you. We have people thinking that they can go to church for 1 day out of a week or 2 days out of a week, and that somehow they can just act a straight fool for the rest of the whole week. They can disrespect people, rob people, take from people, have sex out of um, their marriages. They can manipulate, do all types of stuff, and then just come to the church on 1 day out of a whole month and just say, "Hey, you know what? I want to be, I want to be forgiven for all the things that I've done." You know, so that's a different perception of deception right there. I believe in, karma's a good thing that is done to others. Like you treat people like how you want to be treated. You talk to them how you want to be talked to. You respect them how you want to be respected. You give them the same type of you know oh, sorry about that. I burped. I apologize. You give them the same type of love um that you would want. And sometimes people don't see that. They deceive people. That's why we had slavery. That's why we had segregation. That's why we had racism. That's why we had sexism. Men thought women were only good for certain things, sexual use, only for to be seen, not heard type of situation, to be housewives, to be homemakers. They were not seen to be proficient. As we can see, that's also deception because we see as women out here now that make more money than most men, and they have better intelligence than most men. And most of them sometimes have much more of a caring heart than most men, people do. So what I'm trying to state to you is that deception of life is what has been the cradle of society's downfall because mankind from the beginning has been deceiving through um our you know our back and forth relationship with forces that are unknown, that are unseen, that we don't really comprehend. And these forces sometimes can push people to do things that are not really in the greatest value for themselves or for others. So, deception of life is one of the functions that cause a lot of catastrophic events to happen. People lying. For instance, when we look at Emmett Till was one of the biggest deceptions ever. A little kid coming from the north down to the south, with a much more freer mindset, went to school in a public school where you got public knowledge, had much more of an educated mind, was a free thinker, didn't hold back, spoke his mind because his mother taught him that, came from a family that had a lot of intelligence. But when he went to the South, um, the deception there was put once again because of his race. He had to follow certain rules that were not pretty much um, put on others of other skin colors. And with him looking at a person the wrong way and whistling, cost him his life. And based upon that, they exaggerated and used all types of deception about the young man in order to murder him and kill him. So you can see deception can be used to destroy a person because of their race, their color, their gender, their religion, their place of origin, um, and just their belief systems. Deception of life is what society sometimes now is pretty much fueled by. It's sad now because we're seeing it everywhere. Like I was just saying to you, in Africa, they're deceiving these young gentlemen with these drugs. Here in America, they're deceiving these people here with the fentanyl, the heroin, the ISO, with all these drugs now that are so bad for you that people are collapsing and dying. All the way to Canada, all the way back to the United States, all the way down to South America, thus far all over the world now. There's multiple people outside using these drugs that are very heavy now. Um, and the sad part of that has brought a lot of people to a catastrophic destruction, a self destruction. And with that said, deception is something that is a force of life. It could be done for a bad thing. It could be done for a good thing. Majority of time within this Western civilization right now is done for a bad situation, but deception is also used in, I would say, other formats. As you look at, how would I say this? A leopard. A leopard uses deception. It blends in its certain wool coat to hide in a certain area of the forest to deceive other animals that it wants to pounce on and attack. And that deception is used for that purpose. When you look at chameleons, they change their color to deceive other smaller insects to gain access to them for food. Um, Deception to me is a just another part of the creator of all existence because everything is created by the creator of all there is, all there was, all there ever will be. Everything that you see, deception for good or for bad. You know what I mean? Hopefully, when you use your deception, you're using it to protect yourself in a proper manner, not to hurt anybody, or to use it to get people off of you, or to, you know, do it in a way of catching someone that is deceiving or doing harm to others. With that note, that's my first topic. I'm going to come back with another topic on the Rose Room discussion. I'm going to leave you with a slap real quick. I'm going to play that for you. Then I'm going to come right back. My bad. Let me get you some. All right, all right. This is MLRose, the Rose Room Discussion podcast show, hosted by me, Michael L. Rose. All rights reserved by Trademark Intelligent Sounds. Yep. All right, so I'm going to get to my next topic. My next topic I'm going to talk about is confusion and how confusion itself leads to or came from the deception of life. Um, Deceiving people is the same thing as confusing them. Have you ever seen, how can I state this? A deer in headlights. Sometimes I've been on a road before. I used to work in the mountains. I already told you that before. I did forestry. I also did a type 1 hand crew. I also did conservation. So doing those three things of those years that I did it, the 10 years, I seen a lot of sometimes these animals would get in the road, and when the high beams would come on, they would get stuck. Some of them would get stuck. Some of them would have fast reflexes, but the confusion would kick in because they didn't know what was coming at them. They didn't, they couldn't comprehend it. Something coming at them with large lights, they can't really see past it. They don't know what it is. And some of them would get hit. I remember I hit a deer one time, and boom, when it flew, feces flew out of his, his back area, and he flipped, and I thought he was hurt, and I looked at him, and he got up and ran. I said, "Oh wow!" But yeah, confusion. Confusion is something. When a person deceives you, because in this lifestyle we live in, for some reason now, people find it to be very like cool to take from others, to deceive them, to lie to them, to if you catch a lick, that's what people call it nowadays. Uh, Sticking up, that's the old game. Um, to just pretty much taking advantage of a person. And like I was saying to you, deception comes with confusion because when you see a lot of girls that meet these dudes online, they was showing this show recently without a child pornographers and people that were like pedophiles. They were meeting young girls online. What they would do is deceive them, bring them to places, to hotels, show them a lot of money, tell them about how they can make money, um, then give them alcohol and drugs, confuse them. So they deceive them, then confuse them. Then while they're confused, they will take advantage of the child, which would occur in either taking inappropriate pictures of the child or pretty much sexual assault or prostituting the young child. And this goes on with boys and girls. And on top of that, not just in that perspective, because they had also human trafficking for children's um, vital organs. So some children was promised these things, promised that thing, brought to a hotel. Next thing you know, they will be end up in a bathtub with a bathtub full of ice and their kidney cut out, because this is other games that people are playing too also. With that said, you also had some people that were doing this to use children to set up adults, teaching young girls to deceive and to confuse men about their ages. And then when the men find out the girl's underage, the pimp would then come in and extort the other man. He would use confusion because, he'll bring the girl in, deceiving him, thinking that the girl's over the age. Then when the girl gets in the room, she confuses the John by putting stuff into his drink, by causing him to become inebriated. And then the man would come into the room after that, the pimp or the person that was pretty much taking advantage of the child and then using them to get what he wants. So in this society, a confusion is a lot of things that can be put into perspective. Um, Confusion, like I said earlier, of general identity of what sexuality you are. In this day and age, we have so many different sexualities now. We have so many different representations of what a person is now. We have people that are now claiming to be animals, humans that are trapped in a human body but really want to be animals. We have people that are now calling themselves, I guess, other nationalities. I seen one guy; he was a Caucasian male. He was born, um, and as a Caucasian male, rich, came from a rich family. Somehow, he felt he was a Filipino woman at age 25. He just out of nowhere felt this, and he said it confused his family because they thought, "Why are you doing this at this age and time?" He just said he just felt it was right because its spirit talked to him. So in this day and age, people have different identities that are pretty much, to me, a lot of different type of like it's it's to me a lost type of mindset to me, that they're not really happy with what they are. Like, remember, people tell you to be happy with what you have and what you got. Um, thank the God that He made you and gave you these certain things, these attributes, these skills, these abilities. Because some people don't have them. Some people envy other people that are smaller and slender. Some people that are slender envy people that are heavier and bigger because they want that. And some people envy people that are in between that have everything perfect. And then some people that are perfect don't really want to be perfect because they don't want the attention. So we live in a very confusing type of day and age, pretty much. People are bleaching their skin. I mentioned that before when I was talking about deception, because people think that in some way of them being deceived, of telling them that somehow their skin color is not worthy. So we had a lot of people recently, I think it was in from 2000 and I would say 20 to 21 to 22, they were bleaching their skin. Females said that for some reason they would get more attention when their skin was bleached. Um, for some reason, they thought that men find women that are much more of lighter skin more attractive. This is going on in Africa, Jamaica, United States, all the way to the United Kingdom. It was just a lot of people doing this bleaching of skin. They were deceived with the deception that it would, some of these creams promised that they would have a long lasting effect, which they didn't. A lot of people caught cancer. So it was a lot of cancer being given to a lot of people out there. So they were deceived. And then after that, they were confused by the fact that they got in shambles when it came to their financial backing, because now when you have cancer, you have skin problems, you have no type of way of getting any medical support because you don't have the income to go and see these type of dermatologists or doctors for skin grafts or anything of that nature, and you're going through a lot of problems because this company just lied to you, got you all confused in the mind, thinking that you're going to get something that's not really true. And now you're stuck with some type of form of skin cancer due to taking so much of these products into your skin and it causing damage to your pigment. So, yeah, confusion is one of the biggest things right now, too, also, too, along with deception, because deception comes first and confusion. You know, people will deceive you, then confuse you because you're confused about them. Because after that, you don't know why they did it to you. You don't understand why they did it to you. You don't understand why you didn't see the signs of it. That's a part of confusion. People get taken advantage of every day with these scams that you see right now. Like, one of the scams I'm seeing is now they're calling people with this DMV thing. They're claiming to be the DMV, and they're calling elderly people, telling them that their car is not registered and that they're putting a fake DMV site, and they'll send the email. The first they'll call and say, "Hey, you didn't register your car properly." Then a person will say, "Oh, because they're elderly." Then they say, "Oh, we can send you an email. What's your email?" When they click on the email site, what happens is they put a virus into your phone. Now they get all access to what you're doing on your phone, and when you go into your account and get it, they'll wipe out your account. So this is another deception and a confusion game to take advantage of people that are elderly that are not aware, because a lot of them are not truly, how can I say that, they're not digitally savvy, because this day and age is, like I said, we in a microwave mindset day and age. We in a microwave mentality. Everything is moving quick, fast. um People are in a very high intelligence stage. Like I said, some of these kids are very intelligent when it comes to scheming and scamming, but they're not intelligent when it comes to survival in the lifestyle of what comes with the consequences. And that's what I'm going to come to the next topic, my last topic, but I'm gonna stick on this one right here: confusion. Because confusion is when you don't know something and you're not really aware of it. Like I was saying to you, like a lot of these children are brought to these street levels. They're not aware of what they're getting into. They get confused because they didn't know that this involved in murdering somebody. They didn't know this involved in taking advantage of somebody. They didn't know this involved in stealing from people. They didn't understand the whole truth. They didn't read the menu before they ordered the actual meal. You get it? You know what I mean? In layman terms, I'm just trying to give it to you like that. They didn't really figure out what was the whole situation before they decide to get involved with it. Because sometimes people brains can process things faster, sometimes some people can't. But like I said, confusion is also part of deception. And in this society right now, we're confused. Like I just stated to you, there's people who are confused about the color of their skin. I seen one lady who was from Germany, and for I think 10 years, this woman has paid money to get her breasts very largely like an African woman. She got her lips injected with I think it was black, with people that are of African descent, the fat tissue, because she wanted the authentic lips that look like they're African. She got her buttocks injected, her thighs. Then she got her pigment of her skin changed. When I seen her, but in her perception of her mindset, I mean, whatever whoever deceived her and had her confused, you have your own life. But the confusion of not accepting who you are and being deceived that who you are is not really attractive and beautiful is one of the biggest things right now. We have women that are born heavy set with full figures. Back in the days when I was young, having full lips, nappy hair, darker skin was not considered attractive back then. Women with large derrieres was not really the thing. They had a certain type of woman that was the main model, and that was a blonde haired, blue eyed woman that looked like that. Behind her was a Another woman that had long hair, and then behind them was a mulatto female for people that were African American. Like in that age, if you was to find a woman that was mulatto or of that type of skin color, and she was on your arm, you were considered in the game like EA Sport. She was like a ticket to anything because anybody said, oh, especially if she had green eyes or blue eyes, that was like, a gift. But as we come into this day and age of understanding and people knowing that that is not right, we're still seeing that this is used in a perspective of deception now. You see what I mean? They put it in subliminal messaging to children and to certain adults too, through commercials, through TV, television shows, through movies, through products. All these things are used to put a spin on your reality, to deceive you with deception, to have you confused about your natural self, your natural beauty, even your natural religion. I've seen some dudes I used to go to school like I used to go to school with these two dudes. They used to be in the Just Say No program. We were in the Just Say No program. I wish I would have stayed with that and helped out more kids. But me being deceived by other people around my way who were older, mature, was like, "Oh, you guys are little punks. Y'all running around with them Just Say No shirts. Don't do drugs. That y'all some little punks in the neighborhood." They deceived me and made me confused about the righteousness that I was doing for a better cause. The dudes that I was hanging with, their rest in peace to their father, he was pushing that to stop all the drugs in our community. Because he's seen the foresight of what was going to happen for the future, what was going to be the outcome. Which is everything he said. This man was on a corner preaching it every day. He was talking about what was going to happen. He was talking about um, the Most High is my witness. I will never lie to you. He was saying everything about the government, the phones. He was saying stuff that, the spirit was in this man because he seen the spirit was touching him and it was telling him what was going to come. And then the dudes on the corner that we lived at, they was like, "Oh man, get off the corner! Don't nobody want to hear that BS bush. You know what I mean? Get up out. You know what I mean? They didn't have no faith in the Most High. So us wanting to fit in, we were deceived. We were then confused later on because as we grew up, we started to see that this man was telling the truth. And as that kicked in, we seen how we were taken advantage of by this whole ordeal, and how we look at now all these things that he was saying was really actually true. The deception of the children, the drugs being pumped in the community, the kids being used as drug mules, the kids shooting and killing adults and killing themselves, the kids then turning on their households, the households then falling in shambles, the government taking advantage of the kids. He was spitting all this information to us. Like I said, deception is a part of what the society has created. And like I said, Western civilization is one of the best places to see deception at its finest. It's like magnifique here. It's at its greatest quality here. You know what I mean? And confusion is done to everybody on every scale here. You see what I mean? You have women who think they're not attractive. You have men who think they're not worthy. You have people who think because they look a certain way that nobody likes them. You have all these different things. You have people feeling that they are not accepted because the way they talk. You just have so much in that. You have confusion based upon people's race. People feel like they are superior to others because of the skin color, how they look. You have people feeling like they're superior to others because of their darkness of their skin. You have people that feel like them talking about a person's skin color gives them some type of superiority over others. And then you have other races that follow these same agendas. So the confusion in that and the deception in that shows you a lot of just the mindset is not really strong anymore like it used to be. Back in the days, people took pride in their race, color, nationality. They didn't care what nobody said. They stuck up for themselves and really had a real, true, strong identity. And they carried a lot of attributes and qualities that backed up those type of, you know, respects that they wanted for people to see them who they are as pillars of their communities and their society. But now in this day and age, people feel like hmm, you have to pretty much be followed by others. You have to get their approval. So when you're getting others' approval, if they don't like certain skin tones or skin colors or certain races or certain type of dialogue or intellect or how you present yourself, you're not going to get far in life. So they want you to change that about you. They want you to change your identity, change your talking, change how you stand, change how what clothing you wear. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't hang with them. You shouldn't be that. You shouldn't, because that's going to hold you back, but that's really their perception of you. That's what they want you to do. That's the confusion, that we're living in right now. People not even accepting you for who you are and what you have done. They're not happy because they're lost in the confusion. They're lost in the sauce themselves. They're trying to gain attention or respect from others who don't even respect them, and they're being deceived by a society who's selling them nothing but their own ideas and culture back to them. As you can see, one of the biggest confusion we've seen with Kentucky Fried Chicken, for instance, we know that this recipe was sold. Well, it was not sold by a black man. It was created by a black man who sold it to another man of another nationality, who then sold his idea for trillions and billions of dollars. But the whole point of the matter was they told this man because of his nationality and skin color, and he didn't have the right intellect. That's what they stated to him. And he had I was told that in the story that he had a fifth grade I guess mindset or mentality or fifth grade understanding educational level. So the man told him that he wouldn't be the right person to represent or, you know, pretty much introduce that. And he said the best thing to do is just give it to me and I'll take care of you. And then the man family never got taken care of. He never got credit. He didn't get credit until like probably I think it was 2016. So you got to think about this. Kentucky Fried Chicken had been around since the 1940s. So you got a 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. This man was like, it was decades. This man didn't get no respect, no money, no nothing. While this other man is a billionaire. And, he's preaching all these things about the Christ and the Heavenly Father. And they said the man didn't confess until he came to his deathbed. And then when he came to his deathbed, his family waited decades longer after that to finally confess to give information about who really made the recipe. So they deceived people and confused people the whole time, thinking that this person of this one nationality, because they look superior to what the perception here is in this Western civilization to be presentable, as wealthy, um, is, and they made this person that was another nationality that was of my complexion and my nationality to be perceived as uneducated, unworthy, and didn't need representation for something that he created. And this man was from he was from a tribe, but his family mixed with African, but it was also tribal. So he had the knowledge of growing, cooking, and making spices. So that's where you get those spices from. All those things that you're eating, the flavor that you're getting from is from a person that looks like me that didn't get any type of credit because people confused you and deceived you into believing that they did it. As we can see with multiple different restaurants here in America, you go to Taco Bell, right? Where did the first actual authentic dish come from of Mexican food? It didn't come from anybody that was of a certain nationality that is of Caucasian, right? But lo and behold, they will sell this product back to you and deceive you and give you back your own stuff that they created and make money off of you. So the deception, confusion is really real here. Um, we're told that even in the Bible itself that people believe that certain races are cursed. There's no proof in that truly, but yet and still, this is the perception that's being told by people. We're told that certain people are more holier than others, and as we can see with the no disrespect to the last priests and all these people, they would put these people in these bulletproof vehicles and people would come around and kiss their hands and oh heavenly and think that they're going to get some type of something from this person. I thought to myself, if a person believes in the creator of all existence and is ordained by the creator of all existence to be his mouthpiece or to be his main source of communication to others, why would he be scared of a bullet if he's with the creator of all existence that created all everything there is and everything there was and everything that ever will be? So it just let me see more and more of a deception in the society is always being created to confuse people. Confusion is here rampant. And like I said, with the sexuality, people are being confused. With the identification of people in sexuality is being confused. Um, People not liking their skin colors and who they are is a confusion. People not accepting that they don't have money and wanting to live a certain lifestyle and to get other people's approval is a confusion to me because you're not accepting what you have, what you are, what you really have naturally as a person, and you're trying to put a false narrative of deception out there to other people. So you're confusing yourself and you're confusing others by not just being who you are, but because you want to fit in with all the other people, you perceive that this is something that is very good for you to do. So, with that said, that's how I wanted to connect deception of life to confusion because those two are within life pretty much tied together. But like I said, they're also a creation of the creator of all existence. Because in order to, in the Bible, it said it when they built the Tower of Babel, and all of those people built it, they wanted to build it all the way up to the Most High. Because remember, Nimrod, I think it was either Nimrod or was Gilgamesh or one of these type of individuals because they said the names change and they changed the names around. But I'm not 100% accurate on biblical uh, context or text itself. But I think it's probably Nimrod wanted to build the Tower of Babel all the way up. So what the Most High did, he sent down his messengers and sorry about cherubs, messengers and cherubs to confuse mankind. He confused them with the speech, the conversation, and he made them unable to communicate with each other. So they couldn't keep building up because they was building a false, you know, false idolization of a man. And like I said, if you go to the story of Nimrod or Gilgamesh, you can see these both of these characters were very big at stature. They were famous hunters. They were also inventors of certain technologies. They were also well known and ruthless murderers and killers. And they were also um, renowned, men of renowned. You know what I mean? That's what they say in the Bible. The giants, they were like at 8'9", 8'10", weighing about like a ton. And they said this man was super strong. They said this man was so strong he can pick up a actual full grown lion, like a little kitten, and grab it by its mane and hold it. You can see if you were to go to downtown San Francisco, I think you can see a statue of Nimrod, and he's holding the lion by the mane, like a little kitty cat, and he's showing you his stature of how big he was. This man was worshipped all around the world. He was like a well-renowned person. So you know what I mean? Like I said, if you look at that and you take that for instance, this is why confusion was brought into our society because it was to confuse the different people so they could become against each other and they would stop building that Tower of Babel. So, like I said, with the deception, when I was telling you about the leopard, how it uses deception to hide, to deceive the other animals that it's going to pounce on and eat, the Most High even use that for a good purpose, and it also can be used for a bad purpose. These are just natural attributes and natural essence of the creator of all life. So, with that said, I'm going to get into my last and final topic. I'll be right back. This is the Rose Room Discussion, hosted by me, MLRose. All rights reserved by Trademark Intelligent Sounds. I want to go to another slapper. Another slapper. Let you hear that real quick, and I'm gonna get to it. All right, all right. I'm back from the break. That song right there you're hearing is called Nutrition Nigga in one long word. If you don't like the words that I'm saying, I'm not trying to be rude, but that's the name of the song. So that was a single that I made not too long ago. That was my first single that I actually put out on music streaming platforms. That I first went up there on Spotify. Nutrition Nigga, all in one word. You get it when you see how it's spelled out. Yes. My last and final topic is reality. So we went from the reality itself of seeing how reality of life can cause confusion when people are using deception within life to confuse others by creating all these different perspectives. But we also seen how in these different perspectives of those different topics, there can be a good side and a bad side. But reality itself always kicks in at the end. You know what I mean? So when reality dictates fate itself, because reality always dictates fate, because when you're come to a realization of who you are, what you're about, and what you stand on, you then have to choose what you want to do with yourself. If you want to go forward, backwards, you want to stop, you want to rest, it's going to now dictate your faith in life. You see what I mean? How strong you are. Will you stand up? What will you do? How will you do it? You see what I mean? Um, with deception of life, people go through different deceptions. Like I said, I've been deceived myself. I've gone through medical situations myself. I have had medical problems. Like I told you before, I wasn't properly diagnosed with my situation. I had to go and do my own research to get diagnosed. I went to the hospital over 40 times. They told me nothing was wrong with me. My leg was swelled up. My back was swelled up. My I had a bulging disc. I had a lumbar spine injury. I had a degenerated disc, meaning that the disc itself was pretty much gone. You can't see those because what happens is like the sponge in your back that holds the vertebrae. The disc had dissipated. It pretty much was gone. So what was happening was that when I would do certain things, it would pinch down on the nerve and cause me pain in my body. Now, with other people, they can't see this because they don't know anything about. They're not a damn doctor. But from their perspective, they were, oh man, you just faking. That's nothing wrong with you, man. Everybody gotta lose something like that. But you know, none of these people themselves never been through nothing like that. They damn self. They don't even know how it feels. You know what I mean? This is the type of pain that can knock you down. You know, I used to take codeine, hydrocodone. I had to take pills, you know what I mean? To just knock out and go to sleep. That's how bad it was. I used to have to smoke weed and everything just to get the pain off my body so I can just pass out so that way I would not be in pain. You know, sometimes I would walk down the stairs. I remember one time I walked down the stairs, my whole leg almost went out. That's how bad my body was weak and that's how bad the pain was. I remember um happened to use the restroom. I was so weak, I went on myself. You know what I mean? You know how that feels? Like, I never went to the restroom. I never even did that when I was a kid. When I was only a little kid, probably like when I was 5 years old. See what I mean? But now you're a grown man and you can't even walk to the restroom and hold it enough to where you're going to go on yourself. I mean, I was so embarrassed in front of my family members. You know what I mean? This is happens to you when you're in pain. Reality kicked into me. I wasn't the tough person. I remember I used to be lifting 300 pounds. I used to work for a place, a recycling place in Concord, California. And they had these glass in these big containers, these big barrels. These glass would weigh like 250, 260, 300. I used to yoke them up. I used to be super strong. I used to work for a company. I used to lift 250 pounds, these things, and had no problem with it. I was in very good shape. But what happened was over time, me having wear and tear on my back, I thought I was Superman. I wasn't getting the proper rest. Um, and I worked for a company where I would start at 8 a.m. in the morning. I would get off at probably 12 or 1 p.m. at night. Um, and then I had to get up again and do it again. And then I was also on call during the weekends. And this was a medical equipment supply company. So I had to go from Napa to um the old Sacramento sometimes all the way to um I would say probably all over in certain places of this East Bay, close to the East Bay areas, and drive in a truck. And this would be at nighttime, you know, at 12 o'clock at night, 2 a.m. at night. I'm getting calls by some elderly person because their tank of oxygen is not working properly and they just didn't plug it up. And you know, this wear and tear on my back, and then waking up, not getting proper sleep, and just lifting heavy, heavy. I mean, I would say I would probably lift around up to 800 to 1,000 pounds per day. And if you think that's a joke, that's not a joke at all. Because the bed frames themselves altogether weigh at least around like 90. And if you're taking like one, two, three, four of those, plus they would have these concentrators, they would have these tanks. I would take like two tanks, three tanks, and had to lift these things by myself. You know what I mean? All day, every day. And before, like I said, I worked for a recycling company where we lift glass in barrels by ourselves. There was no help, nothing like that. You got to help from the person you work with, but some of them were not stronger than me. So I was like the strong one there. So I had to lift this heavy ass stuff up and pour it into the thing, and it was just really a lot of work. I come from a lot of hard grinding work, and then before that, I also did a lot of I would say grunter work. I did a lot of ground and pounding type work when I did work with the shots. So you know that's pretty much using McLeod's, using pickaxes. You know, you're digging into the earth. It's hot. You know, you didn't hike at least around 20 something miles. You're carrying a 30 pound a pound pack on your back. So in reality, I dealt with a lot of stuff too. Also, I'm not just a person that just tells you anything that's just full of shit. No disrespect. Can please excuse my French, but I'm just telling you 100%. It's real out here. And at that time and age, I was very confused. I was confused about my mindset. I was confused about the fact that I had money. I was confused where I was at. I was taking care of a lot of people. I was deceiving myself because I had three cars. I was trying to live a life that I was not really prone to living. I was trying to keep up with multiple different people with a deception of who I was and my personality. I didn't come to grasp with who I was as a man yet. But when reality kicked in and I lost everything, I finally seen who I was, what I can accomplish, and why I was put here for a purpose. So reality is something, man. It'll wake you up. Like I said, we've seen a lot of people now. They're changing their perspective. They're eating right. Um, a lot of people that were taking the skin toners, they're suing these companies now. A lot of them are waking up to find out that their beauty of who they are is natural. That they shouldn't change themselves. That they should be happy with their color, their nationality, their identity, their weight, their hair texture, their speech, their culture. We're seeing now people are coming to a reality of things. Um, and in this reality, we're seeing that pretty much we're understanding that people are starting to know that the deception of confusion is something now. And in reality, we're starting to see that there's a lot of people that are being misled by it. Because as we can go outside to places like I said, San Francisco, California, and you can just see all these people that have been confused, they've been deceived, and then reality kicked in, and now they're out there on the streets with nobody to help them, and they're being taken advantage of through these different drugs that are being brought to our communities. Like the saddest thing I ever seen when I went back to the city is I seen a friend of mine's his mother. Now I grew up with this dude my whole life. Me and him was friends. I kind of parted ways with him around like age 15. But I remember his mom would cook meals for me, always nice to me. You know, um, when I would sneak away from school, she would allow me to come by her house. I would play Nintendo until we get home from school. She would give me some noodles or, you know, just look out for me. But he went to prison. Um, and I seen his mom on television, and it broke my heart. It broke my heart so bad. Like, you know what I mean? And she was pretty much gone. Like, because her son was not there to protect her. I don't know where she was at. I don't know what was going on. I went back to the city looking for certain people, but I can't find everybody. I couldn't find her. I couldn't find some of the people I grew up with. A lot of them passed away. A lot of them are in mental places. A lot of them are in hospitals. A lot of them are just it's over with. But I said to you, like, in this reality, like I was saying to you, when I was in the Just Say No program, then I was confused as a child by others who deceived me in thinking that being a certain way in life was better. Um, Trying to show off, being around people who had no respect for their own cultures, their own nationality, no respect for even their own families, would shoot people, would do certain things. We thought these type of people had some type of power in our community because as a child, our existence was only the circumference we were in. Like pretty much what we seen from one point to another point. Like we're living in the Visitation Valley, so all we seen was these neighborhoods of Sunnydale, the Towers, you know, Hunters Point, Fillmore, you know, all these different areas. And when these dudes would come by on these fresh cars with these gold Daytons and spokes, and they'll have candy paint, and they'll have a slap in the back, and you see the female with them, and they got the big chains on. You would see that as something as like, wow, I need that because that's what everybody else is looking at, and that right there will get me some attention. That'll get me um to a plateau where people will respect me. But you didn't understand what came with it because the deception of that is that these people, some of them had to murk out their own kind. Some of them had to manipulate and get money out of their own kind. Some of them had to make deals themselves with the devil and get involved with this street activity that was deep of serving our community. These type of things that destroyed us in the long run. But to see it was something very. It was just like when you're a child, like I said, we had intelligence. We had higher intelligence of education, but we didn't have any intelligence of the streets. It was a deception, and it was a confusion, mis- misleading us into a whole perspective of chaos. And then when reality kicked in, now you're on the streets. Now you got to know how to fight. I remember I had to fight a grown ass man. I had to fight a grown ass man probably like 3 times. No, 4 times. I had to fight some racist grown man. I had to fight another older gentleman that got out of prison. I had to fight my stepfather twice. Me and my friends had to jump him because he was drugged out and he went kind of crazy. Um, I had to fight another man before, a grown man. I got almost beat up. Thank goodness I had the faith in the Most High. Would gave me the stamina because he ran out of stamina, and I was able to take off on him and get up out of there. You know what I mean? This man was chasing me. I'm talking about literally chasing me, trying to hurt me permanently, if you know what I mean. Um, and then I had another fight with another grown man. So you know what I mean? These are things that came with trying to hang out with people that I didn't understand, their real true narrative of the whole socialization that they were involved in, the covenant that they decided to take on. You know what I mean? When I say covenant, that means the group that they started to connect with, they started to basically put their faith into what their belief was. And their belief was the streets. Survive by the streets, eat by the streets, live in the streets, and move around like you from the streets. That's pretty much it. That's all their whole concept of thought was. I didn't process that properly and was confused growing up. I didn't know what that was about. Why, all of a sudden we just seen Mr. Johnson about uh 2 years ago. We used to get ices from this man. Now y'all over here trying to blick him upside the head with the cannon. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? Like, oh, he ain't nobody out here, blah blah. And all this man trying to do is get us up off his front porch. He don't want none of that stuff by his front porch. And with him saying that, boom, there you go. Reality kicks in. Now you got your friend that you with that he talking about you loyal to the situation. He trying to attack Mr. Johnson and hit him in the head with the cannon. And you got to think about it now. Which way you gonna go? You gonna go with your friend, or you gonna go to back home, or you gonna say, you know what, this is not for me? And that's what I did. I pretty much woke up and said, when reality kicked in, like this is not for me. You know what I mean? I can't be in my own neighborhood around people that I grew up with, that my family grew up with, that I had trust with, that helped me as a child to now see somebody that I grew up with attacking somebody else and just, you know, making a mockery out of our whole neighborhood. And like I said, when reality kicks in, you start to really see what you're doing. You start to really see the consequences. You start to understand why it's such a variable that can change your whole life and others' lives by the decisions that you make when you're being deceived yourself, you're deceiving others, you're confused, you're confusing others. And then now when you all of it falls down and you need somebody, where do you go? You see what I mean? Because it's gonna fall down, it's gonna come to a point to where you're gonna have to face your moment of truth. You know what I mean? I have relatives right now that are in that penal system. They lived a lifestyle to where which they thought they would never catch up to them. And now they're doing lifetimes in there where they're never getting out. You see what I mean? And they're living it for real. They're not playing. It's not a game. It's not nothing to play with. It's not a joke. It's not nothing I express to people in a way like as if it's like as a badge of honor. I look at it like, man, I love that person. I wish they was in a a different position, but I can't do nothing about it because this is the reality they got to live in. I got to live my reality, and we were both deceived, and for somehow they didn't get a chance to make it, but I got a chance to make it for them. So when my reality kicked in, I knew what I needed to do in order to give people a better perspective of why they should not be involved with these type of things. And this is why I'm doing this podcast, because like I said, from my experiences and those who know me and all the stuff I've been through, you can see me as something, as a building block to your life. You can see that, and you can see the path that I went down, and you can see how hard it was, and maybe you can make a better path in your way and learn from me and my mistakes and pretty much grow off of that. But like I said, once again, the society we live in, reality is here, you know what I mean? And it's two different sides of reality, because when I got a chance to get away from that, I seen a different reality. I was able to go out of state, and going out of state, I've been to Montana, I've been to South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Washington State, the other Washington State, because it's two Washington states. Um, been to Tennessee, Chattanooga, Atlanta. Um, I pretty much been a lot of places, man. Chicago. So I got a chance to see, because my reality allowed me, and the Most High gave me that path to get a chance to live and tell my story, and also to go and see other people who are going through the same similar situations like me, but also to learn from them and to get a better perspective of what life really is. And this is what everybody's going through. We're all, what I mean, living in real time right now. So I wanted just to share that with you. And this is my topics: deception of life, and how sometimes those will lead you down the wrong path, but deception could be used for bad and good purposes. Confusion itself is something that we all go through, but sometimes the Most High puts us through these situations in order to teach us a lesson. And then when we get the reality from that perspective, we then grow on that and become stronger, and we build off of that. And then we get knowledge to pass down to others to teach them either the righteous way, if you are on the truth path, or the way you choose to go. Once again, this is MLRose with the Rose Room Discussion. All rights reserved by Intelligent Sounds. I'm going to appreciate everybody from tuning in. If you did tune in, if you didn't, it's okay, no problem. I'm going to leave you with one more slumper before I get up out of here. And yeah. Oh yeah, I see the home team won. That's all good. But yeah, I'm gonna leave you with a slap. And that's pretty much it. And I'm outro like Dro.